money with the IPO.
Including the CEO as part of the selling shareholders.
Let's get the opening bell here and the CNBC real-time exchange at the big board. As we said, it is Circle, stablecoin issuer, and we'll talk to Jeremy Allaire, as we said, on Money Movers. At the NASDAQ, it's care.com, an online marketplace to find family care.
Look, we have to start thinking, it is great. Even though we think it's antithetical to traditional, look, we have Coinbase and we have Robinhood, and now we have Circle, and that's how I want to look at it.
We've got the Senate working on the bill. We've got Coin in the S&P. We've got JP Morgan allowing clients to...
All righty, welcome back to another course member live stream, everyone. So today I want to start by taking a look at some of the IPO numbers around Circle, and we'll try to see how much they've got outstanding in shares as well, mostly because usually on these IPO days they tend to have the amendeds are never the full one. Here we go. They tend to have the most attention, and so they make it a little harder for some of the other momentum names to really keep momentum going. So we'll see what's going on with Circle. Did have unemployment claims rise this week, so you did have sort of two negatives in a row when it comes to jobs, the ADP and then the unemployment claims figure. Though you do seasonally tend to see an increase of claims in the summer. So again, I think that might be because of teachers or who knows what. So we'll see. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's try to find out what kind of money they make and what kind of shares they're actually listing with. So we have their balance sheet. I'd like to get, this does not look like their gap statement, but this could be kind of interesting. Investment income, expenses. That actually might be the page we might have to stick with. Okay, this is very interesting. So interest, unaffiliated interest income. What do we got here? $532 million. My goodness. Is this when you're a stablecoin issuer, you just print money, huh? So what do we have here? $532 million. Investment advisory 18. Admin 3. Admin. I mean, they have $25 million of expenses and net investment income of $521 million. My Lord. And they just print money. That's crazy. Is that their full? Let me see here. What a business. Create a stablecoin. Okay. Let's see if I can get their gap. I mean, maybe that was it. Is that it? That's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. The rest of the expenses really don't even matter. Cash flows, financing activities. We've got net changes in deposits held for stablecoin holders, 19.4. We've got cash at the beginning and end of the period. We've got a lot of cash sitting around, an extra 45-ish million bucks sitting around. Let's look at the balance sheet. Oh, here we go. This is a more gap related look. Okay, yeah, this looks a lot better. Why is this so different from the other statement that we just saw? Maybe that's because that's just, it didn't look like a gap statement. So I'm wondering if that was just like one segment, like, oh yeah, just our coin itself. This is going to look more appropriate. Here we go. All right. So assets, we've got 750 million here in cash, corporate held stable coins. So they hold some of their own coins as well. Here we go. Okay. $43 million held for the benefit of stablecoin holders. Okay. Got it. That's going to show up as a liability as well. Almost the same number, a little bit less over here, although some of it might be current, so that's fine. So unrestricted, I've got about $750 million of cash at the biz. And then this looks like more of a gap statement, which then makes me curious what the other statement was, but let's take a look at this. This is reserve income of $1.6 billion. my lord. Okay. And of that, they distribute $1 billion. Okay. Well, there's still that spread of 500. Compensation expenses, 263. So they lowered comp expenses here a little bit coming up on their IPO. That's interesting. So then you've got G&A. So I wonder what this actually buys you, because usually you would put compensation under like a G&A category or a marketing category or something, but they just kind of slice it out over here. And then net income is $221 million. All right, so a little less than in that other statement, but still $221 million before taxes. That's phenomenal. So then we look at EPS, got 73 million shares out. Let's see here, 73 on a diluted basis. Diluted earnings, 30 cents. Okay. Doesn't seem to align perfectly. That seems to align better with the basic. Anyway, okay, fine. 30-ish cents in EPS. And then, yeah, here's their cash flow, their GAAP cash flow statement, 155. Cash provided by operating. Some of these are just going to be deposits. All right, so we've got a profitable business. They've created a lot of shares because they've been profitable for the last 2 years. Less profitable this year. Why were they less profitable this year? Well, because could have been their IPO expenses. Here, yeah, you're up about 40 mil right here. Other income, that's fine. Income taxes were up a little bit. Looks like income taxes and OpEx were up a bit. Gosh, but their margin over here was tighter as well. Okay, a little bit. So they kind of got hit on each level a little bit. That's interesting. It makes you wonder if they're becoming a little bit more, less competitive if their margin is shrinking here. But anyway, I mean, plenty competitive here. So interesting. Yeah. So today, I don't think CoreWeave gets the momentum. So like I put in the Alpha report, I think we might be at that sort of momentum top, especially because people are now going to look at Core or Circle, and nobody's actually going to read the financial statement, which people are just going to look at like, what's the stock doing? Is it going up or down? It'd be interesting to see how many shares they're actually putting out. And I want to see what that statement was where they show their 500 mil. I think that was just their stablecoin income. Oh, we might have to get one of these amended statements to get that. Oof. Okay. Let me just open it. Ew. Oh, that's why, because it's giving me a spreadsheet. I don't want that. All right. So here is their amended. Do we have any share count on this? Yeah, 24 million shares. Oh. It's actually quite a bit. Wait, hold on. Let me see what they're saying. This initial offering, we are offering, okay, here we go. 9.6 million shares of Class A, and selling stockholders are offering 14.4 million. We will not receive any proceeds from the sale of Class A identified as selling shareholders. This is normal. So this is basically like, think about it this way. Imagine you're an investor in House Hack and there's an IPO. And I'm just giving an example of how you could do this because I don't know exactly how it'd be set up. But the idea is you might have employees or early investors or whatever who say, hey, on the day of the IPO, we want to be able to sell either all or a certain amount of our shares, a certain percentage or whatever. So they can show up as selling shareholders. But if you sell shares like of HouseHack during an IPO, HouseHack doesn't make that money, right? Like HouseHack earned money selling you shares when it was created. And the goal, obviously, is to IPO at a larger amount. Obviously, that's the goal. So that's very interesting. They are offering, and then the company itself is offering 9.6. And this is where they're hoping to raise money. Because if they could raise, 10 million shares at, $30, that's $300 million. That's in this amended. Let me see if there's any other amended. I think that's the latest one. Oh, there's one more. Is that the last one? I think this is the last one. Okay. So, yeah, see, they increased it. That's why they have these posts about how it's an upsized IPO. All right, here we go. So they actually increased it to 32 million shares in total. They're offering 12.8 as the company, and the, other insiders are selling 19.2. This way, they can earn, probably closer to 400 million bucks, something like that. Oh, look at this. ARK Investment Management have indicated interest in purchase. No, that's interesting. They're not on the inside already selling. No. ARK has indicated interest in purchasing up to 150 million shares of Class A common stock being offered at the IPO. Wait, but they're only offering 150 million dollars of shares. Well, that's pretty good. At $30, man, that's a lot. That's wild. That's like, isn't that like $4.5 billion? No. Yeah, not times shares. Again, $150 million of shares. So $150 million worth of money. So divide that by about 30. Yeah, and that'd be about, 5 million shares or something like that. Okay, interesting. That's cool. This is how they keep advertising their business. They have got the money to slosh around, that they show up in all these documents. Kind of cool. All right, very cool. So, and then they have different voting styles as well. Class B has more voting rights than Class A. This is not uncommon. Mark Zuckerberg really shifted that, where more voting control was held amongst original founders, and a lot of that is really due to kind of the phase that, when Zuck went through Meta, and the stock was tanking because of the metaverse and all that crap. The pivot to AI and AI servers was great, but he would have probably gotten fired at that point had he not been a voting control holder. Anyway, so there goes CoreWeave. So look out below. Like I said in the alpha report, we're getting close to top here. I mean, yesterday we were past the lines I had available for it. It's amazing that it kept going the last couple days. It's still on my radar over here because we triple bounced on the 125, and that was a great day. That was like a 25% day. Yesterday, it's like, all right, technically it was an 8% day, but most of that happened in pre-market. And today it seems to be down. So it's possible that the trade is over for the time being. Okay, so I'm saying that clearly because I know there are traders that watch momentum. And again, this is not like there's nothing fundamental about what's going on with CoreWeave right now. It's probably just because Circle's about to IPO and people are like getting cash ready in their accounts because people love playing the IPOs. Now, 32 million shares. What percentage of their total is that? Well, it's hard to say because sometimes what they have in the financial statement is like before they've recapitalized. So that's a little harder. Let me see if I could see outstanding or if there's any lockup. Okay, here we go. Oh, good. Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted to see. Oh, this is so convenient. Look at this. Oh, see, and here it is. Our Class B common stock will be held by our founders and will represent 30% of voting power of our outstanding stock. Not uncommon. Okay. Options. They probably have more voting power now. And then at IPO, it's also not uncommon to go under 50%. Option, okay, we have granted underwriters the option to purchase 4.8. Class A, yeah, if it does well. Class A common stock, 200 million shares, plus 20. So you're going to have about 220 million shares outstanding. Okay. And how much are they issuing? 32. 32 out of 220. 32 divided by 220. All right. So they're offering about 14.5% of their company on IPO. Now, you see how I did that? This is really, really important for when you're a trader, in my opinion, because if you added these numbers up and it's 220 and they're offering 32 mil, we know it's 15%. Great. If you did this for Webull, it was like 2%. And if you did it for Newsmax, it was like 7%. So the smaller the number outstanding, the more likely it is to meme rocket ship and collapse. Now, don't get me wrong. The meme rocket ship is really entertaining, but it also sucks. Because look at what Newsmax looks like. And I was screaming, pounding the table, going, it's going to collapse. Of course. It's obvious because they have so little of the shares outstanding, right? Bull was the same thing. Literally the same exact pattern. So, how do you prevent that sort of pattern from happening? Well, one thing you could do is you could have NVIDIA promise to buy your shares anytime you dip under $40. That's one option. Another option is you have enough shares out and then you price it low enough to where people still want the stock publicly. Like the public demand for the stock has to be massive. And maybe that's what they have here. I mean, you got ARK Invest saying they want to buy 150 mil. You know, that's pretty sexy right there. NVIDIA said they were going to buy 250 mil of what's that darn thing called? Cloudflare, or not Cloudflare. God, you know what? CoreWeave. So that's kind of interesting. So you've got a good amount of shares coming out on this. This is a much bigger IPO than some of the other companies because at, you know, $30 times 220 million shares, 220 times 31, call it. This is a $6.8 billion. Is that right? No. No, I think it is. Yeah, it is. $6.8 billion IPO. Okay. Well, it's definitely bigger than Webull and Newsmax. You do have more outstanding, so it might not be as much of a rocket ship, unless Kathy Wood goes in there and tries to buy everything. But then again, she doesn't have that much money, 150, you know, relatively. So it's going to be interesting. In the meantime, you do have the Qs rotating down today, which is unique because usually when the market opens, the Qs just go straight up. You know, 7 to 8 out of 10 times for the last 2 months almost, the Qs have just been straight up. Part of this could be because of jobs. Part of this, part of that is seasonal, though. You know, like I always tell you, like I'm down to be a bear, but I'm also going to be realistic. And this doesn't seem so bearish. I'll show you. See, look, the initial claims for unemployment spiked this morning, but look at Nick T's chart here. I think this is a very good chart where you classically see a rise in initial claims. And these years are 24, 23, 22, 19, and 18. So every single year you see a rise in claims right here. So I don't know if people are going to remember that, but I want you to pay attention to it because I feel like we always try to go one level deeper or maybe even a few levels deeper than just like what's popular on the internet. It's going to be really popular to talk about, oh my gosh, unemployment claims are skyrocketing. But they kind of do that in the middle of the year. It's not uncommon for them to jump up on a weekly basis to 250 to 275. Now, if that creates enough of a cycle to keep it sustained, that's where the problem is. But you're not going to know that until probably week 34. Well, what the hell is week 34? 34 weeks after January 1. Oh, it's almost a pregnancy. It would be August 27th. Okay. Google had to figure that out. And I don't even think that was AI. I don't know. I think that's just a computer. It's a normal computer. Wow. Look, a beautiful normal computer response. No AI finally. This is a short pregnancy, but it could be a pregnancy. You know, Summer, she was a 32-weeker. Well, but she was also, what's it called? Extradited? I don't know. Anyway. So, yeah, you're like, this could induce volatility, this increase over here in nervousness, and then people are all going to be begging for the Fed. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put this in a video that I'm working. I just want you to see it up front. The Fed in the beige book basically gave you a time frame for, you know, how long they're going to wait. Nobody talks about this because nobody looks at this crap. But, you know, this is the stuff I do when I'm bored and just want to read. I sit and read the Fed beige book. Contacts that plan to pass along tariff-related costs expect to do so within 3 months. That is, I cannot understate how important that line is. The Federal Reserve is basically saying, in the summary of their report, everybody we're talking to is saying whatever tariff price increases are going to happen are likely to do or likely to do so or likely to occur within 3 months. Okay. So that means June, July, August. Wow. Once again, we'll have our answer by September. You know, because we'll know what's going on with inflation, what's going on with wages. It's very interesting to see how clearly they're guiding that. Summer. Yeah, we actually, it's funny, we threw them on yesterday. We got one of those little kitty potties. Don't worry, they're clothed. We just got them a kitty potty so they can get used to going on or like get familiar with the kitty potty. And you know, the whole like nature of, oh, what is this contraption? And it's just cute seeing Summer. I threw her on it. It's kind of funny. So then we still have a little video of all of them kind of fighting for it. But she's fun. She's the tiniest one still. And I fly him around. Lauren says it's because now you're a pilot. So that's why you always do that. Everything's aviation. But I just kind of like carry him and run him around. What's crazy is it's actually exhausting to do it to 4 of them. Violet doesn't like it. But like I'm out of breath after I do it to that many of them. It's crazy. Because they just all line up for it. Like, fly. Anywho, so, all right. CoreWeave's going through its retrace. It's a red day today, so look at the momentum go. Remember, there's nothing fundamental about Robinhood. It's fundamentally bad. But look at Etsy. This is very interesting. It keeps going. This little rocket ship's very interesting. And if Elon's successful in killing this big, beautiful bill, Enphase, you know, which has obviously been a toiletry stock forever, you know, because rates are so high. It's been, I mean, we've said this every single time we've talked about it now. Eventually, it'll be great when rates fall. It's going to be like, we should look at how dang cheap it is right now. Although growth estimates do go down. So let me see what we have for it. Enphase, because they're just not growing, right? It's kind of hard to do a PEG ratio when something's not growing. But I'm curious to see what Wall Street is setting it up as. Yeah, okay. So Wall Street has them at 247 EPS this year. They think EPS is going to blow up this year. 41.94 divided by sorry, divided by 247. My calculator is still broken. I got different batteries for it, so I have to use my phone. I hate this. And then I'm just going to spitball that at 19% growth EPS. Yeah, so it's about a 0.89% at current estimates. All right. So cheap, but also still dangerous until at least rates start coming down meaningfully. All right. So that means I also mentioned this morning that there was this Trump Xi Jinping call. I really am very skeptical of every one of these interactions until we actually get serious results. And I don't think China is like going to be very impatient. And I think that's why we haven't, at least I haven't seen a Truth Social post yet. I think China's gonna be like, hey, call us when you're done with your court battle. Good luck, bro. Yeah, that sucks. You got these judges screwing you, man. That really sucks. That's my guess as to how that goes on. But anyway, I feel like this is kind of like an allegory to the stock market. Is you get, everybody's really into like the new hot commodity, and in this case, it's the toilet seat. So it's kind of like a meme stock, like everybody's into it. And people are trying to get the shares, people are trying to touch it. And the first trader there is like, nah, get out of my way. Like, this is my meme stock. I'm playing with it. You got Summer over here holding the seat, but Ella doesn't need the seat because she's all in on calls. There's Jack. So, Claire's just going to put it on her as a hat. Yeah, it turns into chaos. It's a lot of humans and a lot of poo. All right. Anyway, so I'm not like horribly optimistic about this Trump Xi Jinping phone call, mostly because of the courts. I do think they kind of rug pulled Trump. Now, again, whether or not that opinion is like whether they should have rug pulled him or not, that's separate from what they actually did. Like you could take two arguments there. You could say, well, he should have gotten rugged because he was doing silly things. And others are like, no, Trump should be solely responsible. Either way, he got rugged. So I think you could say he got rugged without it being political. So I'm not going to jump up and down on that call. And what else? Let's go see what we had for earnings yesterday. Oh, Challenger job cuts. Also, I mentioned that in the alpha this morning. I'll just give you the quick TLDR on it. They actually, last month, a lot of the job cuts were still because of Doge. But I thought this was interesting. Look at this. Cuts spread to other sectors than the government for other reasons than Doge. So job cuts were up at 93,000, down a little bit from April, but up from the same time last year. Let me see what their commentary is. Current 2025 hiring pace is more aligned with 2020 or with 2012 and 13 than the rebound years of 21, 22, suggesting that while companies are adding workers, they're doing so cautiously. Well, I mean, but that's good. 2012 and 13 were actually, people were worried about a double dip recession. We never got anything here. This was a great time to buy. ZA, yeah, really, we've got it's everyone in the alpha. Okay, so here's kind of a quick little schedule, by the way, as to what's going on, just so you have a content update. And then I'll look at the rest of this Challenger, and we'll go look at some fundies. So quickly, this is kind of like my rough plan right now for new lectures, videos in course, and content. So number one, the course member stock app This basically will show Kevin's latest comments on individual tickers, peg ratio, K-peg ratio, etc. Right? And so that way it's kind of like consolidated there. So that way if like if I mention end phase and I'm like, it's gonna suck under high interest rates in January of 2023 or whatever, like it says it there in the app. You don't have to go back to the January course member live stream to be like, oh, there it was. That's when he said it 10 times. Like, right. I think that's just going to be a little easier for people. So that's the first priority. The second priority is really, I'm waiting for progress on whatever reconciliation bill we get, because I do think there are going to be a lot of lectures around that tax policy. This is what we talked about with Trumponomics is like, once we get that tax policy, we're going to make lectures on like every part of it, because that's where you can make business moves. You can make real estate moves. You can make investment moves. You can make retirement account moves. Right now, we don't know what we're going to get. So, now it's like, Elon's campaigning to actively kill the bill. So that's kind of the plan right now. Obviously, remember we have the course, what's it called? The marathon. I really hope you come to that. We still have 2.5 months. Trust me, I'm like way behind at training or exercising for it. So you have plenty of time to catch up. I'm not going to race it. My goal is to complete the half marathon, ideally without walking. That's the goal. Can I run the whole 13 miles without walking? All right. So if that aligns with you, go to the course announcements in Discord and come join. Okay, what's the news?
We learned it from the Chinese side. Let's get to Eamon Javers, of course, see what else, if anything, we've learned in the last hour or so since we first heard about the call. Eamon.
David, no confirmation from the White House on this call, and I can tell you that no human being that I can physically get to in the West Wing is able to confirm this. They're all saying no updates to offer right now. Obviously, we can't just walk in the Oval Office and check and see who he's on the phone with. So it's possible that call has happened, as the Chinese side has said. Here, take a look at the Chinese statement. It doesn't give us much in terms of guidance on the Chinese side, just saying President Xi Jinping is on a phone call initiated by U.S. President Donald J. Trump. So to parse the nuance there, important potentially that the Chinese are the first out of the gate to confirm the existence of this call, and also to say that the call was initiated by President Trump. Xi Jinping, very sensitive to protocol and sort of manners of how things are rolled out. The idea that this is a call that was initiated by the U.S. side, clearly important for the Chinese to get into their statement, saying that they're sort of being magnanimous or generous in taking the call from President Trump. Now, we'll wait to see what the White House has to say about that. And it's not clear whether that call is still ongoing or not, if it has happened at all. My understanding, going back years, is that presidential calls with Chinese leaders have been very long in the past, because there's often an opening speech that both sides need to make to sort of lay out their position at the top of the call. That's all scripted and needs to be gotten through. And then there's the issue of consecutive translation back and forth as each side works through the translation on what each leader has said. So this can be...
All right, boring. You can see China's post right here where they say, Trump initiated the call. Steve says critical minerals and metals in mainstream now. Yeah. Which makes sense because of, China having 90% of the refinement control of like supply chain of critical minerals. I think that's actually why MP Materials popped over the last few days. But Steve, U.S. in crisis mode on critical minerals. I mean, you're not wrong. It's unfortunate. I'm not a big fan of fighting people you're trying to trade with. But you all already know that. You know my opinion on all this crap. So unfortunately, when you start a fight and you don't have your own infrastructure for something set up, like critical minerals, you might end up getting caught flat-footed. And it's not good. So yeah, you're not wrong, Steve. Okay, so what else here? So this comparison to 21 is interesting. West region, relatively steady. South region, a jump in cuts. Florida, Tennessee, job cuts. Well, California is also the biggest state. Arizona doubled its total. Notable decreases. Oh, Nevada was down 84. Oh, that's interesting. That's pretty good. Overall decline in the Midwest. And job cuts, that's fine. Okay, restructuring accounted for 62,000 cuts. Bankruptcy, 35,000. AI implementation led to 20,000 cuts so far in 2025. It's interesting. They're actually counting those. And then, of course, layoffs this year. Doge at 284. All right. So, I mean, not that, like, crazy of a report. All right. Let's close some of these tabs. Can't stand this many tabs open. All right. Tesla's rebounding a little bit. The Qs are rebounding a little bit. It's almost like right after that CNBC segment on the call, which I'm still waiting for a truth to come through. And it's going to be like the most bullish truth, even though nothing is likely to have happened. Donald Trump right now is figuring out how to craft it as the most beautiful message in the world. Anyway, so Circle, watching for that for probably between 9 and 10 is usually when these suckers open. So we'll see how that goes. Even Tempest is getting hit today. Wow. Yeah, all the momentum's getting hit today. FICO, on the other hand, still rebounding from that 14 level it dipped to there. And we're talking about that dip too. I think in the alpha we even said, setting up for a rebound. 35 on Cirrus. It still surprises me that this is not lower, given that these are Chinese imports. But that's all right. Wow, look at Hood. Hood's at 70 now. That's crazy. All-time highs over here on Hood. Absolutely killing it. And they still haven't even released their banking product, which is brilliant. I think that's why SoFi has been lagging a little bit, is because Robinhood is taking so much of the pleasure. But look at the volatility you get. I mean, we literally ran up to, what, 60-something dollars over here, 66 bucks, all the way down to 29 in the span of, what, like a month and a half? It's crazy. Like, when we get the volatility, it hits hard. Okay. Anything else interesting here? Oh, how's MicroStrategy doing? Because we've been a little stuck on Bitcoin. Everybody's waiting for Michael Saylor to go shopping again. Chilling out. Should we do a little retrace? We want to do this? Nah. Let's go to the dark side. Let's take this level. How low do we want to go? I was thinking just going in this region here, or I can include this. See, if I want, I could just take the low over here. And then go to the top here. Yeah, that's not too useful. The extension takes you all the way down to 39. That's a little silly. Oh, it does give you some interesting shelves that seem to be functioning decently right now. Look at that. That's not bad. It's all right. Okay. Anyway, let's go see what questions we have. And then what else we want to do. So somebody says, oh, what do I think the fair value is for Tesla? Well, the way to look at it is, from a manufacturing point of view for cars, they're $140. Everything above that is robotaxi and Optimus and future potential, right? So basically, you have to ask yourself, well, how much do you value robotaxis and Optimus? Okay. Well, if we value robotaxi and Optimus very, very highly, well, then you could explain that $200 spread between those, or now $150-ish, right? So that's kind of what you have to look at it. Where's NVIDIA? Let's see what NVIDIA is doing. Hood may be added to the S&P 500. That wouldn't surprise me. I think Robinhood's a great company. Do I think USD will get weaker throughout the year? Well, I think that there's still a high likelihood that the Federal Reserve is going to have to panic cut between now and the end of the year. I don't know. I think it'll happen before October, but everything seems to take longer than we expect. When and if the Federal Reserve starts panic cutting, yes, the dollar should weaken. Typically what happens is yields go down and the dollar weakens because there's less demand for lower interest rate bonds. So a weaker dollar would be a reasonable bet in a weakening environment. So if I go to U up, you could see the dollar peaked in Jan. How interesting. Very interesting. It's been on a beautiful trajectory up as interest rates have risen. But this whole trade war hasn't really helped out. That's quite fascinating. What time Circle IPO? Well, probably 9 to 10 is typically what they do. Okay, hold on. Let me do this. And then I can, without moving. I think I can do this without enter. Try something here. Cancel, join. All right, perfect. Oops. Turn that volume off. There we go. Okay, cool. Now I can look at your comments on here. Think about cheesecake. Ooh, cheesecake. We can look at cheesecake in just a sec. What would have to happen in order to panic cut? Jobs. That's it. It's only really the unemployment rate has to go up. EXP. The problem with real estate companies right now is there's so low volumes going on, right? Can we have it so when I go back and forth from my iPad and iPhone, I don't have to re-sign into the Me Kevin app, please? Yeah, totally. That's really annoying. I'll write that down. So we'll say multi sign-in iPad. Yeah, I think constantly having to sign in is really annoying. So I keep passing that message along so we can make sure that new updates have that. So thanks for your feedback on that. So okay, yeah, let's take a peek at cheesecake. Let's see what we got here. So restaurants recently have gotten a little bit of a boost. Oh, the queues are coming back up again. Still, you're only down about, look at you sort of like bottom feeding right here. Tesla's coming back. Watch 318 now. 318 on Tesla is going to be your line. It could reject here, although I'm not very enthusiastic about buying puts because people usually like buying the dip, and so you have more headwinds than you have tailwinds. You could easily reject that 318 level. You can probably try it a couple times today, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the day you're below it. I don't know that we're going to ride 318 today, like get on top of it. There'd have to be some really good news or something. I don't see that necessarily coming. Okay, so let's hit cheesecake. So cheesecake, $56. Let's see how they've been doing in their last. What do they have earnings coming up soon? No, they shouldn't. Looks like we've got earnings here. We'll do a quick look. I want to see their profitability. This is from the quarter ending April 1, so they probably released this in May. Let's just look at their profitability. Hey, 69 cents of earnings. This is a sign. Wow. Can Bitcoin and altcoins spike with the dollar? I don't think that those relate. I know that people say they relate. You know, this idea that, oh, well, you know, your currency's depreciating, so go buy sound money. I get that argument. I don't think in practice that's how it works. I think Bitcoin gets bought because it goes up. That won't happen forever. There will always be down cycles again. And that's not like an anti-Bitcoin thing to say. That's just normal. Unfortunately, when that happens, it's going to be very hard for Michael Saylor to keep buying. So I'm very curious to see how that goes out, especially now that he's got like, I think 3 different entities to dilute the shares of 3 different entities to go buy Bitcoin. Actually, probably 4, because I think it's 3 funds and then the company MicroStrategy itself. It's crazy. So a lot of buying power. It's a lot of pull forward of buying power is what it is. But I think that's more important to Bitcoin's price than what happens with the dollar. That's just my opinion. So, but anyway, Cheesecake's revenues did climb. Yeah. Did have a little bit of a boost here. We kept our net income roughly the same. I mean, it fell a little bit from last year. So as your revenues are going up, it means you're not really changing anything in terms of your margins, but they're not getting worse. So, I mean, good for Cheesecake. I think it's a great company. I don't like buying restaurants because I think restaurants in general are a trash business. You know, cash flow of about $36 million. What's their liquidity like? I mean, they have cash flow, but I mean, look at the bills I have to pay. I have bills to pay of, take this off, okay? Take the gift card liability off because gift card redemption is always typically very small. I mean, look at this. From the December quarter, we had 27 mil come off of it. Like, it's small. It's like 10% redemption per quarter, right? Big deal. So take that gift card liability off. That gives me, of bills to pay, that gives me about $483 million of bills to pay. And I have about 200 mil of cash. Yeah. So, you know, we're taking all of our cash flow right now just to pay bills. That's my take. And so the next few quarters, the cash flow, I don't think is going to look as great because we got so many payables to pay. So you got a business that's kind of, I don't want to say stagnant, but you're kind of flat, which isn't bad. It beats going down. It beats losing money. So I think Saylor will be richer than Elon soon because of this, either richest person or zero. Well, the thing about Saylor is I wouldn't be surprised if he purposefully throws a lot of money into like paid off assets. So that way, you know, even if Bitcoin goes to zero, he could still live a very lavish lifestyle off of, you know, real estate or whatever else. And the only way he would lose that is if he were convicted of fraud, which I think that's more of a stretch because I think he's just very, so at least from what I can tell, I mean, I don't like him because I feel like something's fishy, but I won't go as far as saying that I'm like, oh, I'm certain he's a fraud. I think it's a very kind of transparent, dilutive momentum strategy, and you kind of can't fault that. Like, good for him. Keep doing it. You know, it's working great for you right now. So, all right, good. So yeah, those are just some quick thoughts there on Cake. Restaurant business is tough, especially if you do see unemployment go up. The restaurant industry will be even tougher. I don't know that we will. Remember, we see that seasonal increase in unemployment claims. Very common. And yeah, I'm actually surprised. It looks like you might stick a red day today. It's so rare for us to have a red day. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh well. So then the question is, where does CoreWeave bottom out? Let's see. Today it looks like it jumped at 142, which is totally no man's land. This could also be a little bit of a sign that the market is sort of on edge of peak again, where it's kind of like, all right, any bad news, we're ready to roll over again. Because I don't think we got any like terrible data this morning. That kind of, I mean, 8 bips on the Qs makes sense. Like, okay, big deal. It's really like, this is like a flat day. It's a rounding error. So patience for the Circle IPO. I think that might also be why you're seeing less momentum and buy the dipping. People are, again, holding their money for the Circle IPO. All right. Very good. What else? I do keep hearing about NBIS. I'm pretty sure we've analyzed this one before. But, yeah, here, this could be, who knows? Maybe here's your new momentum play. What is this? $10 billion market cap. Well, it's not actually a tiny market cap anymore. You know, it's had a little green wave here over the last month. Today's a nice day for it. Definitely momentum over here. So, but again, I like at already up 16%. Who knows? Could it go up more? Sure. $10 billion market cap. But my guess is people are holding their money because they like playing IPOs. It's kind of entertaining. It's like the casino's open again, you know? Oh, 318 line. So, chance of the rocket deal getting blocked. Oh, with Redfin? I don't know, but I would say it's certainly more than 0. I would even say it's probably as high as like 20%. Mostly because that's a big consolidation. Redfin plus I think Mr. Cooper and Rocket Mortgage. It's crazy. That's a lot of consolidating. So pretty impressive. So anyway, watch for 9 to 10. I think this will be your momentum. Donald Trump will almost certainly have a truth post out by then, and it will almost certainly be total bullcrap, but it will sound bullish, and markets might actually move on it. So, all right, I gotta go. We'll see you again tomorrow. Appreciate everyone who's here, and yeah, good luck out there today. Goodbye.